What's up, followers? It's Pied Piper 33 here. Today, I want to talk a little bit about how we can fix Destiny. Over the course of the last few months since the Dark Below came out, I've seen a decrease in the amount of time that I'm spending with Destiny, and my immediate group of buddies are seeing the same thing. Essentially, they're just really over Destiny as a whole. So what I'd like to do is address some things that I think would add to the Destiny experience to help avoid the monotony of the grind. So the first thing I'd like to see to break up the grind a bit is more chain missions and different ways of getting them. Currently, these are limited to random exotic bounties that are given out after turning in some to Xander in the tower. I'd like to see a random item drop from something like a world boss or a public event that would start the chain. Then from there, you'd be able to either trade someone for something at the tower or another connecting part of the same level or another planet. These types of missions wouldn't be getting you an exotic weapon or an exotic piece of armor, but it'd be nice to see a special legendary weapon that's acquired this way that isn't always the same as the same gun or same piece of armor that is acquired the same way by other Guardians. Now that introduces something else I'd like to see, world bosses or rare spawns. These are going to be rare spawned enemies that have slightly increased chance of dropping rare engrams or, as stated before, an item in a chain mission. Now another option with this would be to have something like the spider tanks that require a public event in order to complete. It would be a rare public event, but it would allow participants an opportunity at better chances for rare and legendary engrams. Bigger bosses would be dropping more engrams or better quality engrams. It would also be something that's so scary that you definitely wouldn't want to take them on with just a few guardians or by yourself for sure. Granted, that's kind of what strikes are now and kind of what a raid is, but I'd like to see something a bit more devastating and something completely optional like Urzac at the Skywatch on Earth, but pretty much on steroids. Now, along the same lines as the chain missions, I'd like to see NPCs out in the world in areas other than the tower. They could be in designated safe zones for Guardians on each planet. This would also cut down on having to load new zones all the time, especially in the tower. In these areas, you'd be able to get missions and bounties from factions at the tower, as well as open it up to having other factions and gaining reputation from these factions and allow you to get unique gear from them, specifically different types of shaders, different class items, and different nameplates. Now, other options for world NPCs would be allowing to tell other parts of the story and the lore around Destiny. Now, you could talk to them and get information about the lore of the game. Currently, there's no such NPC available, and you're basically gathering bits and pieces of information via the Grimoire. Alright, now let's turn our attention away from PvE and move on to something that would make the game a little bit more exciting, choosing a side of the war of darkness versus light. Now, we already know that they're Guardians who are born of light and are recruited to defend humanity and the Traveler. Now, what if you had the option of playing someone from a race of darkness and fight against the Guardians of Earth? This would open up for a few different options for how Destiny is played for sure. For one, you'd be able to have a bit of a different gameplay for the Crucible and open up the lore for Destiny for sure, when that's sorely lacking. Now, there would need to be at least some explanation as to why this happens, however. Perhaps you can introduce a new race and a planet. Perhaps we could change the Awoken to that race. There's a variety of options that are open to Bungie to make that happen with future DLC. But it would have to be something that's for DLC. Now, one of the main things that this would allow was the ability to have open world PvP instead of just the Crucible, which I know that there's definitely some people in the community that want that. And this also would give you new raid options, new levels for the Crucible, and for expanding the campaign some more. Now, for PvP purposes, I'd like to see some more maps that are a bit more vehicle based. Currently, there's a select few, and even then, vehicles don't have much purpose other than getting the occasional flag clear or making it around the maps just a little bit quicker. They're less of a game changer in all the games that I play with them, and more of an occasional nuisance, if anything. I'd like to also see an additional vehicle added in so that they matter a little bit more in the game. In addition, I'd also like to see an additional game type added. Something similar to Capture the Flag or something with progressive objectives would be a welcome change. Holding a couple of positions for a specific amount of time and then moving on to another area of the map to do something similar, or maybe to destroy another objective, would be a game type that I know I would play. CTF would bring back some of the classic fun that we had with the Halo franchise, and there's not any other game that does that game type as well as the original. Another thing to see here would be a map that brings back teleporters from Halo as well, even if it's just something to move around the map a little bit easier. The dynamic that teleporters bring to a shooter, especially an arena shooter, opens up so many options with how the map operates and changes how it's played. I'd also like to see some sort of looking for group option in the tower and something in the rumored social space in the Reef. Having to go to a third-party website in order to find a group for the raid and for the Nightfall can be very cumbersome and not to mention time-consuming, and this would definitely streamline the process for Guardians to get in a group and perhaps even make some friends at the same time. Now, this could be done in a terminal like the Vault, and more of a public space where most people are at anyway. Could also put it somewhere in the tower that's a little bit less traveled, somewhere where Xur tends to show up, or even back where Salahadin is for the Iron Banner, or where the Queen shows up for her events. I'd also like to see it down by the Vanguard vendors as well. And the last thing that I want to touch on is weapon augmentations. Now, a weapon augmentation would be a special item that would add a specific ability to one of your exotic weapons. The drop on these would be specific to a particular boss at a low drop rate with a chance for a legendary or an exotic drop with higher end augments. So something like Luck in the Chamber, or as an exotic, it would add a specific element to your exotic weapon. This could be something for the higher end single player to acquire as well. Perhaps something that drops from the Nightfall, instead of putting those higher end things specifically for the raid. However, with the looking for group system in, we could leave those with the raid in order to get higher items, as it would be easier to find a group. Well, guys, those are some of the things that I think would improve Destiny and the whole Destiny experience and help bring some of the Guardians that have abandoned it back into the game. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Let me know what you guys think about my ideas. Let me know if you guys have any of your own ideas for improving Destiny. A little bit more than just the aesthetic things that are going on, small things that are kind of bugging the community. I'd like to see something that is a little bit bigger as a game changer to try and bring people back into playing Destiny and give it a better reputation than what it currently has. Anyway, that's it for today, guys. Make sure you pay the piper, and we'll see you guys in the next one.